Hey guys, Deathletter Magic here, and I feel like a 6-year-old that just got off anesthesia at the dentist, and I'm asking myself, is this real life? I'm also asking the purple elephants in the corner of the room. Wizards finally did something about not one, but 2 of the forbidden formats. I don't know why they're forbidden, but they sure as heck don't seem like they're too keen on doing anything about them. I think it's like the people who live in like really crappy houses and let it go way too far, and then they just at a certain point look at it and like, well, what am I gonna do? Go like fix one thing? Am I gonna paint one thing? Unless I'm gonna paint it with thermite and try and pass it off as some kind of electrical thing, if you know what I mean. Which, by the way, no, don't do that. I mean, standard is just so bad, but they banned the Meat Hook Massacre. That's all they banned. But the number one thing that needed something done about it was Mono Black, followed very closely by Red Rush. And Mono Black was keeping Red Rush in check. It was more mid-range, it wasn't just all 2-cost kill spells, but it could be. I mean, even White Red Rush and Mono Red, they're the same in my opinion. It's just all the same crap that's so fast that it pushes out any creative, interesting decks that kind of get going a turn later, you know? And it just destroys any kind of creativity. It drives down the deck diversity because if you can't stop this by turn 4, it doesn't matter what your deck is. Anytime that's a thing in the format, they got to do something about it. Now, their baseline is turn 4 for Modern. Lately, that seems to be the case in Standard. Now, Modern, they came out and said it multiple times. They gave that as an actual benchmark. Standard, no. So I'm not thrilled with that. There's a couple others I want gone, but let's talk about what is gone, which is Meat Hook Massacre, and in Modern, Yorion Sky Nomad. Yeah, the 2 formats that they refused to do anything about for months and months and months. Now, I've said this a couple times in the past, but I have to reiterate it here because it's the most relevant. What they should have done is banned a whole bunch of known to be problematic cards right when Standard rotated, because there was a lot of really low-powered cards in New Capenna. And Dominaria, come to think about it. Capenna was pretty much just 3-color unplayable, Masters crap, and then a couple, like, broken Ascendancies, like, whatever, we can live with that. But my gosh, was Dominaria United appropriately powered. Very well designed for draft while also being, not an absolute slap in the face to Standard. That could have been accompanied by them, at the same time as effectively banning half the cards in Standard with rotation, because half the cards fall off. You got to rebuild your deck anyway. Ban 5 more cards. I don't know about you, but almost every card on my Standard ban wish list is from a bit of an older set. So I'm glad they're going the right direction. I kind of look forward to Standard being a lot better next year, but I shouldn't have to look forward this close after rotation to the next rotation, because people have been doing that for the last 4 rotations. And guys, I hate to break it to you, but it turns out that just waiting out Goblin Chain Whirler did not fix a dang thing. Now, to me, the banning is very self-evident to anyone who played Standard, but a lot of you watching this have not, for good reason. But, yeah, it's pretty clear to me why they banned it. A lot of people in the community have been calling for this to be banned for a long time. I wanted a lot of other black cards gone before this, but I don't disagree with this. Remember, it's about fixing the format and crippling decks to the point where they're still playable. That is their goal. So they're not trying to find the most egregious problem mistake card and then get rid of that. If they had that much sense, they would have printed it in the first place. They're just trying to look at the numbers and say, can we drop this a couple % in the win rate? And then people can still play it. And also that they think that it makes people happier, I guess. Because they don't have to scrap their entire deck, but honestly, the people playing egregiously broken decks are the type that don't care about fun or enjoyability. They only care about winning. I'm not going to get into what's wrong with them mentally, because it's a lot. But net decking isn't, I copied a deck off the internet because I don't enjoy building decks, okay? It's, I have to run the best deck, I have to win, otherwise I will have a meltdown over it, because winning at Magic is the most important thing in my life because I'm messed up in the head. Like, that's their mentality, okay? That's just breezing over it. And that's who Wizards listens to on the internet when it comes to feedback about decisions like this, because they think they're the most passionate, loudest, biggest customers, that kind of thing. Well, they're right about 2/3 of that. Of course, for each person like that at Friday Night Magic, they drive away 10 other people. And for every deck like this that they allow to continue, it's 5 other decks that everybody else isn't going to build, because why build anything if it can't compete with that? So they do not realize how badly they're shooting themselves in the foot, and that's a shame. But that's why I wanted to give the background on how they make these decisions. They want it to be as light impact as possible instead of just absolutely cut the head off of all of Tier 1, reset it, and actually fix things. Because the goal, they've even stated this, that it was a mistake. Mark Rosewater put out a poll and got absolutely blown up over it. As of at least 2 years ago, people as a whole, we're talking 80 to 90%, according to that poll, are not happy with the out-of-control power level of Standard. They want lower-powered Standard. If you want high-powered, high-complexity, whatever, fast gameplay, you're just going to have to go to Modern and Commander like everybody else. That worked because Standard was approachable. It was simplistic. It was easy to understand. It wasn't 500 triggers and this, that, and this thing, and this weird permanent and all that. But now they've got Hasbro Greed, which is just pushing the power level up because you got to keep moving the bar because it's the fastest way to make profits in the short term. And now if you look at their sales numbers in their stock, it's coming back to bite them pretty hard. 2023 is going to be a very tough year for them, and they deserve it. And the other thing was they wanted higher powered, faster, normal, just a basic whatever format for Arena because they think, well, with COVID and with, cards, paper, nobody does that even though they do. We want faster games. They took, from the rumors I heard, I'm not going to disclose my sources on this, but let's just say it's pretty darn legitimate. They took one poll of people who play Arena, and the overwhelming number one complaint was that the games take too long and that they have a job and a family and crap to do. And so what did they do? They said, well, we can make money by ramping the power level up like crazy, and then we could add historic, which is literally just modern, which modern, yeah, the games are faster. And then they could very fine tweak alchemy a lot faster, so they made that. And also it was a greedy cash grab because all the cards are basically rares. So it was like, wow, we could solve all of our problems. And then they didn't look to the long term. They don't really know how the community works, and they're just careless, short-sighted idiots. Let's just call it what it is. So that's where we're at now. Now, if you look at the last two sets especially, they have way lowered the power level. So they need to clean it up. And what they should have done is do it at the same time that people are already rebuilding their decks from rotation. You've already got Historic. You've already got Alchemy. They've already got Explorer, which is Pioneer but not done yet. I'm not kidding, that's what it is. Let's just return Standard back to a good power level. The problem is to do that, you're going to have to not sell 4 sets in a row. They're going to sell terrible because none of the cards are powerful enough. And that's not going to look good. You want to make Hasbro mad when you stop, cutting checks to them? Oh, Papa Hasbro's grabbing the belt. So that is the entire situation to give you all of the background on what's going on with this ban. Because it's not just, we thought this would balance things out. Everything's fine. No. There's way more at the corporate level. There's money. There's community trends and bad information from the wrong people on social media and polling the wrong people and sending out the marketing research request to the wrong people. They fundamentally do not understand what's going on here. And yet still, that finally resulted in the Meat Hook Massacre being banned. So their reasoning, as stated by them, is as is often the case, the standard card pool rotation with the release of Dominaria United caused quite a shakeup. Yeah, you probably should have shook it a little harder, with cards from the new set finding their places into decks. And many of last year's cards shifting context within the new metagame. Yes, that's how that works. A lower card pool lowers the power level and you have to rebuild it and changes everything. That ain't news. As the format is settled into place, the color black has proven powerful and prolific and makes up the foundation of many of the top decks. Even mono black, it just does everything now because they decided, I don't know if you noticed this, but Mark thought, he was just patting himself on the back thinking he just basically invented the next, sliced bread. When he said, yeah, we're going to mess with the color pie and have black be able to destroy enchantments now. Well, now that we've got Invoke and one other, which were before rotation and after rotation, single-handedly destroying the format, and then on top of it, you morons reprinted Liliana of the Veil in Standard, a card which people have wanted banned from Modern for years, and shockingly enough, a main color, either monocolored or main plus splash, black-based deck that can do everything, does everything and just wins, especially in a control color that still has powerful creatures, unlike blue. Shockingly enough, that didn't work and they had to ban Meat Hook Massacre. Who would have seen that coming? Who could have foreseen that when 3-color do-it-all Swiss Army decks took over in Khans of Tarkir, and every other time they did it, that a monocolored do-it-all deck that has no weakness and has answers to everything plus powerful planeswalkers and a huge variety of different win cons, while also being an attrition plus speed deck, might be way too good? Who would have thought? Go ahead, name a downside of running mono black right now. There isn't one. You don't need the counterspells, you just deal with it after it hits play, and your creatures are fine. You don't need more lands. You already have life gain. And now your one weakness, unstoppable enchantments and occasionally planeswalkers, you can deal with them too. Yes, who could have seen this coming? So despite that commonly shared color, we're seeing good diversity among competitive decks and strategies. It's not entirely wrong, but a lot of them are egregiously annoying and just unbearable to play against. So they go on to say, we're seeing good diversity in competitive decks and strategies, and player engagement with the format has been healthy. That is not true. They are losing people left and right, and people just don't want to play Alchemy and don't want to play anything else. But they don't want to give up on their arena count. So that if you're using that as the benchmark, my gosh. So to provide a small push against the color black's play rate among competitive decks, we're choosing to ban one black card. Wow, how brave. How stunning and brave when you should have banned 3. And then done something about the other 2 toxic archetypes. Yeah, I guess that would be going too far. That would just scare people. God forbid they scare the 1% of loudmouth netdeckers on Twitter that'll tweet them angrily and pretend they're leaving the game and then turn around and still buy net decks. But of course, yeah, a company that literally sells net decks called Challenger Decks might not have a good grasp or might not care about what's going on. Although it's starting to affect their bottom line, I think they're starting to care. So they go on to say, we discussed several different options as no single black card stood out as the major powerful outlier, played by all decks containing black. That's true, it's that out of control. You should have banned 3 cards. Ultimately, we decided that banning the Meat Hook Massacre was the best choice. That is in the highest number of powerful decks, I will say. Tier 1 and Tier 1.5, that is the most common to the most of them. So they say it's one of the most powerful black cards in the format, is especially powerful against specific archetypes, decks that rely on lots of small creatures, and the human blitz deck is going to get out of control because of this, by the way, but whatever. It's already pretty hard to beat, but and has had its time to shine in Standard for over a year. Yes, they do not ban new cards. They will ban Liliana when hell freezes over or a year from now, whatever happens first. So with the Brothers' War on the horizon, I assume they're referring to the set, not the war in Ukraine, we anticipate the new cards entering the format to provide tools for other decks and color combinations. In the meantime, we expect a little shakeup will help keep Standard enjoyable. Oh, that's a bit optimistic. Let me correct that for them. In the meantime, we expect this little shakeup will help keep Standard less completely unbearable, while we stall for time and hope that the next set will fix anything, because of course an out-of-control power level that's ramped to hell will be fixed by adding more cards to the pool. Don't pay too close of attention to the fact that that is actually mathematically impossible. That's not how numbers work, that's not how math works, that's not how anything works. See, what they did is they said the deck diversity is pretty good, but black is too prominent and people are complaining about it, so here's what we're doing about it. But then they turn around and say that adding more cards might shake it up a little bit. Well, it's already a sufficient level of variety. It's just the power level's too high of what's tier 1. That's basically what they've said. So how is adding more cards going to do anything about that? Adding more cards can unseat when 1 or 2 or 3 decks are out of control, because then there might be something that rises up to its level and is a competitor to it. That is all you can hope for by adding an entire new set. So that's a logical fallacy in what they said for an explanation that you could drive a truck through, and it just goes to show their credibility and their level of competency, which is just 0. They've been mismanaging the game since I've been covering it, and it's been getting worse and worse and worse, and a lot of people like me who are still around in the community, haven't just left, are pissed. So blah, 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 it's going to be more enjoyable and trending toward an even healthier spot going forward as the card pool expands. So, before I move on to the modern ban, I gotta say, just remember, there are 2 things that Wizards cannot stop you from doing, and that ridiculous $1,000 set of non-playable, non-standard legal, not anything legal cards has just outlined to people. 1, they cannot stop you from playing whatever the hell you want with your friends with whatever rules and whatever cards you want, making your own ban list, telling your store you want their own private ban list, which has been going on for years, by the way, that ain't new. Playing Commander and just self-policing it, just not playing structured stuff at F&M. Still support your local store if you have one, but why play by WOTC's rules and the only place they can enforce them is there? And even that they're having trouble with. They cannot stop you from enjoying the game in whatever state you find enjoyable. Magic is still a fantastic game. I still enjoy it, just not what they've done to it right now, especially in the last couple years. And I hate the state of Standard constructed. It is terrible. Based on the numbers, I am far from alone in that. And the second thing they can't stop you from doing is checking out my awesome sponsor, Into the AM. This is a short ad spot. I just want to tell you about it. They do have a crazy 95% off sale if you click the link quick enough here. I think it's expiring, I don't know, today or something, tomorrow, I don't remember. But they always have clearance items, and if you use my code, I don't know if it's even supposed to do this, but on top of it, you get 10% more off. So people are picking up, like, they're sending me screenshots and, like, sending me emails and stuff, and they're like, dude, no joke, I just got, like, 8 shirts for, like, $30. Yeah, they do sales like that. And it's usually the exotic sizes or the stuff that just didn't immediately take off, which still looks perfectly fine. But even at the normal prices, it's cheaper than my own merch, and it's better quality, and I can't even keep up with it. But their garments are what I reach for when I'm just like, I just want something to throw on. I got out of the shower. It's Saturday morning. I rolled out of bed at 10. I just want to go out in public or do some yard work. I just like, I might as well be comfortable. They fit well, they're durable, they're well made, the printing's almost indestructible, and I love them. What more is there to say? Check out the link in the description, help support the channel, which is doing terrible right now because of YouTube's issues and Magic's lack of popularity, and I very much appreciate it. But let's move on to Yorion Sky Nomad's banning in Modern. Now, I haven't played Modern in probably about 6 years, so I don't know too much about the meta. Last I left off, people were moving into like this big shift in what was kind of like the tier 1 in the meta for the longest time. Now, they did do that on purpose. I mean, they had Modern Horizons. That went really well. They totally didn't just double down on the most toxic archetypes like graveyard stuff like Dredge and then completely walk it back after banning the wrong card like they did with Emrakul. Can you tell why people stopped playing these like ran by WOTC formats and they just went to kitchen table whatever the hell? People just went to WOTC, they're like, look at me, I am the captain now. And then they stole the boat, pulled a 180, pulled away from shore, and flipped them off while they left, leaving a trail of, I assume, profanity because it sure as hell wasn't money. So with that said, let's just read what they put and stay tuned because they also have statements about Pioneer, Legacy, and Vintage, and they are not short statements. That's gonna piss some people off. So Modern has been in a healthy place since the last banned and restricted update. They're not wrong from what I've heard. I kind of look at the top decks once in a while though. With good diversity among archetypes and even the most popular competitive deck occupying a relatively small slice of the metagame, each about 5 to 6% on Magic Online. Do you understand how insane that is? You go back like 8-9 years, it was like Affinity, Jund, and some other tedious, dumb, repetitive, old, tired nonsense like, I don't know, Storm, that was a thing at one point, and just, it was the same old crap, same stupid, broken archetype, same one-shot stop me or you don't, binary win condition, glass cannon garbage. And each of those pieces of garbage, depending upon when you look, was, 10 to 20% of the meta. Easily. And it was, no joke, 70 to 80% of the meta. I am not making that up. That is WotC's own numbers for the Eldrazi winter when the Eldrazi took over Modern. So we've been in a worse place than 5 to 6%. Just saying. Honestly, if you want to go play something, do you like high power? Don't touch Standard because, my God, just go play Modern. Not much deck building creativity allowed in that, but with that variety, you can at least slip something in that's pretty competent. So they do say, however, as tabletop Modern play continues to rebound since the height of the pandemic, we've decided to enact a change that we've been considering for some time by banning Yorion Sky Nomad. What they should do is ban all of Companion, and then ban Mark Rosewater from ever stepping foot in the building again. Anyone who takes like 4 days of non-stop berating on Twitter by millions of people and then finally having a 19-hour meltdown tweetathon where he completely loses his mind. And like, that's what it takes for people to convince him that one of his mechanics wasn't very good when it was so fundamentally mathematically flawed. An intern that just learned Magic while working there should have known it. And he's been working there since like the dinosaurs were still on the earth. He should not have kept his job. The end, period. You want people to come back to Magic? Fire Mark Rosewater. He's an idiot, he's a liability, and he's terribly abrasive to the community. I really don't like Ikoria, and it probably caused more people to quit than almost any other time in all of Magic's history. I can think of 2 more times when it was worse, but 3 if you count the $800 fetch land decks. That was a bit of a misstep there. Whoopsies. You push it too far, you make 10% more money, and then you lose 50% when everybody quits. They clearly have not learned from that. They did state that they're not going to put fetch lands in Standard again, though, so I guess they did learn from literally that, but they didn't learn the concept. They got a solid D- in that class. Anyway, Yorion most commonly appears as a companion, really, in 4-color Omnath decks. Don't even get me started. By the way, we're going back to Zendikar, so 5-color Omnath is going to be there. I mean, that's like a given. Anyway, which show a strong win rate and, according to our matchup data, are likely to continue to rise in popularity. In addition to game balance concerns with the deck, we're also factoring in physical dexterity requirements of playing a large deck for tabletop. I've seen people shuffle a 240-card deck, and yes, you know damn well what deck I'm talking about. It was tedious and annoying and probably not very random, but like, how big is that Omnath deck? You know what I mean? I'm actually asking. I don't actually know, and I don't care to look it up. But okay, physical dexterity requirements of playing with a large deck are apparently now the big factor for banning something. It's like they change the rules every single time to just suit whatever ridiculous decision they made to try to justify it. Once in a blue moon, maybe once a decade, they actually mention fun and enjoyable gameplay, and then they throw that back into storage, lock the door behind it, and have, 100% man lands with nothing but control in the entire deck. That'll be fun for everyone. That's what pre-rotation was like, in case you're new around here. It was absolute hell on earth. So anyway, we're wary of the metagame reaching a point where players are playing the deck because of its perceived strength and win rate, despite not enjoying how cumbersome it can be to operate. I'm assuming by dexterity, they literally meant shuffling the cards. They said large deck and dexterity, physical dexterity. Now I'm starting to wonder if they meant cumbersome to operate means it's complicated and decision heavy. Let's just step back here. Because I assure you, I did not read this section before going off on net deckers in the last section here. But, oh my gosh, are they just catching up now that people like that exist? And they might throw off the numbers a little bit, and they might not be truthful in your little Twitter polls. That is suddenly on their radar, that they are wary of the metagame reaching a point where players, let me just replace that, net decking douchebags, self-serving douches who don't care about the fun or enjoyment of everybody around them, ruin everybody's good time and drive people away from the game. Those players are playing the deck because of its perceived strength and win rate despite not enjoying how the deck operates. They're not even having fun, it's just the only thing they have going for them in their sad, pathetic lives because they're such miserable, hateful, defective people with defective personalities, and they're just finding out that those people need to shut the hell up. And you need to stop listening to them as a company because they should be out of the community, not catered to as the perceived top of the community. The whales, it doesn't matter how much they spend because they're driving everybody else away and ruining everything. Throw them under the bus and then back it over and chase them while they run away. So if I'm reading what WOTC is saying here, it's they're going to start to maybe just a little bit try to stop those people, or at least stop that behavior. By the way, why did they just mention Magic Online? Because it's the only place anybody ever plays Modern, and then say, oh, we think people might be sick of shuffling it in real life and physical, so we're banning it in a format that's mostly played online. Modern players are net deckers are douchebags, they're ruining the format, and you don't need less players in another format when people already don't play your other formats. I think that's what they're thinking, and this is what they're saying, is this ridiculous statement kind of hinting at it. But you got to read between the lines, otherwise it wouldn't be a WOTC announcement. So while these physical dexterity issues, oh shut up about that, exist to a lesser degree in other formats like Pioneer, Modern specifically entails more shuffling and other physical card manipulation because of the deep card pool, or pool of card selection spells, fetch lands and so on. Yeah, you should probably do something about that too. Cards encouraging large decks like Battle of Wits, yes, there it is. You knew they were going to say it. Have existed in the past, but usually on the fringes of competitive play. No, it's pretty much just casual, and you almost got to be drunk to show up with it. Someone should make a deck box where you can put, like, a Crown Royal bottle in one side and a Battle of Wits deck in the other. Let's be honest, they're probably about the same height, because that's who shows up with that deck. But okay, they said, yeah, it's on the fringes rather than one of the strongest decks. That's just a polite way of saying it's not going to win crap, but people are bringing it for the memes, okay? The competitive play, that's not even what they're playing. Shut up. Finally, we've also heard from many players that the repeated triggers caused by Yorion and many of the cards surrounding it can lead to repetitive gameplay patterns and long games with lots of downtime between each other player's actions. In other words, that shitty new Yu-Gi-Oh game, where it's turn 2 and your player's still on their 40-minute turn. Somehow. So blah, 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 something about the format being less enjoyable and these patterns associated with one of the strongest decks is problematic and blah, 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 blah. So to make Modern as fun and accessible as it can be for all types of players, did they really go there? Oh, guys, we don't want to be ableist, so we don't want to promote a deck that runs like more than 60 cards in a format that's almost entirely played online. And we're really just covering for the fact that Companion was so inherently hated by the community and terrible and just a complete dropping of the ball that we're just going to gaslight you and say it's an ableist thing and people need to be able to shuffle because net deckers might get carpal tunnel. Shut the hell up, Wizards. You banned it because the card's crap and Omnath is overpowered and everybody hates it. How about that? But yeah, long games thing, that's probably the most truthful thing they ever said. So, Pioneer, they move on to that next. Overall, Pioneer looks to be in a good place as we head into the regional championship qualifier season through November and December. We're seeing a wide variety of strategies employed by the most popular decks. The most played deck on Magic Online is Rakdos Midrange with about a 13% metagame share. That's not terrible. I'd still consider that kind of healthy. I don't care about the metagame shares until it's out of control. Or if it's like 3 decks, I guess, yeah, at that point. But I care about how annoying to play against and oppressive, or how like beatable or not binary win condition. Like Storm. If I counterspell the Storm card, you lose. The end. That's boring. I want to make decisions. I want to tear your strategy apart one control spell at a time. I want to guess what you're going to play next, look at the number of cards in hand, and make this decision about which branching choice of which way your deck is going. Is it really going to go? And then can I anticipate that and do something about it? Not, did you get the right card combo? Herder, you won again the same way. Boring. Boring. That's what I care about. That's what the community cares about. Plus, people do not want to play against obnoxious control-a-thon garbage. People are so done with that after 3 years of that crap in Standard, okay? Honestly, going back to Hour of Devastation, if you think about it, Scarab God, something should have been done about that a long time before it became popular. Hell, the Ugin control deck. I mean, the first banning in Standard after a long time, the Reflector Mage deck back in Shadows. We're going back a ways to find people sick of playing against that crap. Remember Landfall? Remember post-rotation Landfall in Origins? Remember Devotion? Remember when the worst thing we had to worry about in Standard was Goblin Rush and that deck could be disassembled by just sideboarding? That's when Standard was in its golden age and they had more customers than they knew what to do with. I wonder what happened. So yeah, that's why when they just say, oh, well, here's this one number, here's this one thing, here's this one laser-focused statistic. That just drives me nuts because they just use it as a justification to hide what they're really doing, or they actually did laser focus in on one little thing instead of looking at the big picture. Both of those are like how to mismanage your format 101. Now, I hate to mention that in the middle of Pioneer, it's worth mentioning just as a rule, because they are doing a pretty good job of managing it from what I've heard. Although, it's so recent and every set has been, power ramp, that it's not in a healthy place in general, because it's just so all over the place, and Explorer Online is a disaster. It's not great, but, it's not the poster child for broken stuff like Standard is. So Rakdos mid-range most popular 13% meta share, I guess they're proud of that. None of the top 20 most played decks have a non-mirror match win rate of more than 53%. Now that is a statistic. Holy crap. I will say they don't like it being above 55 and they will immediately take action if it hits 60. Community observations mixed with their own words. That is not something I made up. So 53%, okay, that's not much of an advantage. So in general, we've heard a lot of positivity from players about the state of the format. I mean, I've heard the opposite, but that's from people who refuse to play it. And they refuse to play it because they hate it. So I don't know. I won't worry too much about it, but yeah, we'll continue to keep an eye on the health of the format, especially as it undergoes more competitive pressure with the regional championship qualifiers. What they're meaning by that, they don't want to come out and say it, but they really did say it in the last little statement they made, I think last week. So few people play this, and until there's a tournament, it doesn't really progress anything forward because people are just building decks casually and at such a slow rate that we don't have 1 million or 2 million or 3 million people trying to solve a format as quick as Standard. And that's the story that resulted in the last Pauper ban. I'm not kidding. That is what it was. I'm not even really paraphrasing or editorializing that much. They came out and said this wasn't popular until the tournament where people were like, oh, and then everybody copied it. So once again, NetDeckers ruined it. So yeah, they're just warning you that the regional championship qualifiers are going to ruin everything because people are going to come up with new crap and then douchebags are going to go copy it and everything's going to go to hell and they're going to have to ban something. But for now, everything's peaceful until the Fire Nation attacks. So as things currently stand, we don't anticipate any changes before or during that season. I love how they didn't say after, because they know damn well what's going to happen after. Anyway, Legacy and Vintage are two formats nobody cares about. In my opinion, it always has been, in my opinion. These are not Magic the Gathering. These cards were never meant to play together. They're an insult to the game. They don't resemble anything. Whoever goes first wins. It is an insult. It's stupid. It's overpriced. It's inaccessible. And the people who play it are assholes. I have zero respect for Legacy or Vintage, especially Vintage. Some Legacy is kind of okay. Casual Legacy and true old school, nothing wrong with that. But if I wanted to win on turn 2 or 3, I'd just flip a damn coin and not have $20,000 wrapped up in something I can't afford. And anybody who can't afford that, well, I don't need to tell you what society thinks of rich people. So the Legacy metagame is looking healthy. Well, good for it. With top decks all having strengths and weaknesses against each other, since the ban of Regavan Nimble Pilferer, I love how they had to ban something that recently printed because it was overpowered, but, well, welcome to Standard in the last couple of years. So in January they banned that. The most popular deck now is it Delver. And nothing's wrong with that, apparently. Has had its win rate trend downward. Wait a minute. Let me read that whole sentence again. I didn't think that's where they were going with that. Since the ban of Regavan Nimble Pilferer in January, the most popular deck is it Delver. So the most popular deck at the time is what they should have said. Has had its win rate trend downward since then. According to Magic Online data, it represents about 9% of the field and has an overall non-mirror match win rate of 52%. So see, that's what I was talking about before. They banned one card from it and it's still a viable deck. It's still a top deck in the world. People can still play it. So people like to complain, but it's just the people who just wanted an easy free win, and then they also complain about mirror matches because they should be the only one allowed to win, just auto win with a broken deck. People like that exist. There's tons of them. I've met some of them. So with both positive and negative matchups against the next 10 most played decks, they think that's fine. The past year has brought several new impactful cards to competitive Legacy. That's one way to put your power level strategy in Standard, and a certain context, including Unlicensed Hearse, Fable of the Mirror Breaker, oh my gosh, Ledger Shredder, don't even get me started, and Leyline Binding. I still don't understand how anybody plays that. Anyway, and more, we're excited to see the format continue to grow as new cards lead to new strategies. As always, we'll continue to monitor how the metagame develops, but right now, things seem to be in a good spot. I love how every single time they're like, everything's good, everything's rainbows, and what we did was perfect, and look, it's still playable, we fixed everything, yay. But don't worry, dark clouds are on the horizon, okay? If you think this is going to stick around, you have lost your damn mind. It basically was like ... for now, and they changed it to like some creepy font, maybe put like a little, when you hover over it plays dun. But yeah, they're not wrong. So Vintage, likewise, we think Vintage is in a relatively good spot. No such thing, the format is a joke. Magic Online data shows greater archetype diversity recently than we've had in some past cycles. That is actually astonishing. In part because new card additions to the format, Displacer Kitten and Vodalian Hexcatcher, are examples that feature prominently in their respective decks, and new cards like Bosaiju Who Endures, well, that's actually cool if people play that, are finding a home in a variety of decks. If I'm not mistaken, there's only 2 cards truly actually banned in Vintage, because remember, in Vintage, they don't ban anything, they just restrict. One of them was from a standard set recently. Look it up if you're interested, but my gosh, that is a whole other rabbit hole. I'll give you a hint. I mentioned what's written on the card multiple times in this video. It's almost like it's inherently mathematically flawed and shouldn't have happened. Anyway, we're aware that many of the current top decks make powerful use of Tinker, which, yeah, I hate that card, and are often categorized together, but within that category, there's a good amount of diversity in terms of how these decks can be built and the play patterns they follow. Yes, following play patterns is exactly how I would describe Vintage, so I guess they're not perturbed by that. We're also seeing healthy amounts of good stuff decks, which those are good for a format. That's basically what Jund was. Hell, that's what my new deck from last stream was, and you guys were losing your minds over that. Plus, I just obliterated another draft. I went into the draft and just started punching people. I took their deck and just ripped it in half and swallowed it just to intimidate them. That was the 3rd draft massacre in like 2 weeks. So hey, turn on notifications if you don't want to miss my live streams, because they are getting freaky. But yeah, I got a new standard deck, and it's just good crap all thrown together, which that deck is almost, that archetype, the general idea, that strategy is almost impossible to build right after rotation. You usually see it for the last 2 sets, because good stuff is just, I'm just going to run a bunch of mythics. Pick 2 colors, pick the most problematic cards, put them all together. There's no synergy, just run them. I mean, that's just a result of having upwards of 3,000 cards legal in the pool. You're just going to get that. Now, they could avoid it by dropping the whole power level, just saying, but, we already hit that. However, they are the opposite of a gimmicky, one-note, repetitive, just I win or I don't, binary win condition, glass cannon, all-in combo deck, which are the most boring, stupid things ever, and that goes triple for Vintage. You do not want that in Vintage. So when they're saying that there's a rise of just good stuff decks, that is fantastic for that format. I don't have to give a crap about the format or approve of it to be happy for them going in the right direction and calling out something good when I hear it and see it. So they're running Vengevine variants, Workshop variants in the metagame. I love how they're like variants. It's the same deck. Shut up. Overall, we think Vintage is in a good place right now. Once again, impossible, and don't anticipate the need for changes soon. So that's the state of things. Let's get on to what I think should have happened. They should have banned Zur. That deck's only going to get worse. He was a mistake. Enchantment decks are already out of control, and he's in control colors. What more is there to say? That deck is almost unbeatable right now. And the only reason he's not 50% of the meta is because of Red Rush, which also needs something done about it, so this would have been a great time to do something about that. Also, green, red, werewolves. Halana and Elena would be my choice, because just read that card. How was anything about that okay? I would have settled for Averbrook Caretaker, because now you have to beat the werewolves in combat. And the whole point of green, red, and werewolves is you're not going to beat them in combat, you have to blow them up. So the fact that I can't target them anymore, you can take that deck and shove it right up your ass. Averbrook is probably one of the absolute top cards I want to gone. Obviously, the other would be, what I want done about Mono Black. I mean, Shakedown Heavy's pretty bad. Toxrill is just annoying. Liliana is obviously overpowered as hell. I want to play my deck. I don't know if you knew that or not. I built my deck to play it. I don't want her to sit there and eat my cards while she gets fatter and fatter, and I can't even punch her in the face to let her know what I think about it because I don't have anything left in my hand. F that bitch. But strategically, Tenacious Underdog was a card that needed to be banned. You can't have something like that. Just period. The end. You cannot have a card that keeps coming back and there's nothing somebody can do about it other than clear the graveyard. That card was such a ridiculous mistake. They just need to pull the trigger and get rid of that crap. And what I would do about mono red, this is going to shock some of you, would be sticky fingers. Maybe get rid of that stupid samurai that you can drop in for 2 damage on turn 1 or whatever, and he keeps like dodging back to hand because that's the same bullshit as Tenacious Underdog. And yeah, I don't play mono red ever, because why would I? But just take one of the cards they play and ban it. It doesn't, you don't even have to think. It's mono red. They aren't thinking either. There's 0 decisions and the deck runs itself. The most you can lose with it is if you're an idiot when it comes to mulliganing. And there's really not much else other than cards that I just think are too annoying to be in the format. Or I just hate how they work, or they're too difficult to play around, but they're not like in popular, powerful decks. Not really. Well, they're too late, they're too slow, but when they drop in, it's too overwhelming, you know, or it leaves you not enough time to react, which were the 2 biggest complaints for like the last 5 years about Magic. We got Hullbreaker Horror. Do I even need to say anything? Yeah, you cast a spell of any kind and bounce my shit back to hand. When he enters the battlefield, you lose. You blow him up immediately or counter him. Oh, wait, you can't. He can't be countered. Or you lose, and guess what? The kill spell, if they counter it, they get to bounce one of your permanents back to hand as a reward for casting a control spell. Anytime you do that, that's not good. If they're running blue-black and they blow up one of my permanents, they also get to bounce another one of my permanents back to hand, and then they're also playing blue, which means they're probably going to counter it when I try to recast it. That card is so stupidly overpowered, and the only reason that it's not in 100% of decks completely ruining the format is because it costs 7, but guess what? A deck that can reliably get that out drags the game out with so many control spells that I don't want them to have that. I don't want that deck to exist, and it needs to go the hell away. And you know what? Lier can go with it, because stuff in the graveyard should stay in the graveyard. I hate you, Lier. Go back to hell. Shakedown Heavy, honestly, yeah, power level. This is another black overpowered card. Hallowed Haunting, completely propping up green-white enchantments. I wouldn't mind having that, you know, deck go away. That and Xur variants and slight different strategies and speeds of green-white are all taking over, but the number 1 most egregious card that can't be stopped is Hallowed Haunting. And with mono black less popular, there goes half the cards that get rid of it. So, yeah. There's nothing in green that main boards naturalize either, so like, yeah. I don't think I mentioned Toxtril yet. He's just ungodly annoying. Not a fan of Arcane Bombardment. It's just Storm in card form. If that comes out, you better be able to remove it or you are going to lose. They will throw counter spells in it. They'll throw Destruction. They'll throw direct to your face spells. They'll Wheel of Fortune their whole deck. It's that card, that archetype, that deck, and it's always powered by blue, red is it, which is already one of the most annoying perpetual things you'll ever see. Yeah, it needs to go. Brutal Cathar, it's just too good. It just removes multiple things, and you can mix it with like Savor spells in green and blue, which is what they tend to play it in. It's just too good. I shouldn't be able to say, oh, I gotta remove this little tiny 3-cost thing because it's devastating my board state and I'm gonna lose if I don't get rid of it. For 3? Really? Plus all the day-night crap that goes on with it, it's just, get that out of here. Jetmir, fuck that guy. Trample and Double Strike and I have 1 phase to do something about it or I lose. Wow, I wonder what I could possibly have a problem with when it comes to fucking Jetmir. Thank God people just resorted to the faster, simpler, more brainless net deck version, which is just drop a color and don't even run them. But some people get them out with treasures and run a 1 of, and that is 1 too many. And then finally, Gisa Glorious Resurrector, because that should never be a thing. They should not get that rewarded for removing my shit. It's plain and simple. If you're running control, that's bad enough. If you're running control and drawing cards, that's worse. If you're running control and getting rewarded perpetually with a free trigger that puts you even more ahead, that is going to be impossible to play against. And I don't care if it costs 3 mana or 7 mana. It's too annoying. When you get popular decks or fringe decks or anything in between that people do not want to play against because they're so aggravating, annoying, and unfun, they are going to go do something else fun. I don't get what Wizards doesn't understand about that. It's not about let's ban them. It's not about let's make a correction. Let's make a course change. It's about why the hell did you print Hullbreaker Horror or Gisa or Jetmir or Everbrook or any of that in the first place? Why did you print Xur in the first place? Why did you reprint Liliana? What about that seemed like a good idea? Oh, 4 turns and she made me discard my whole hand and now I have no chance of winning. I didn't even get to play my deck. Whoa, let's shuffle up and play again. I can't wait to play more Magic. Oh, I can't wait to do that on Friday night instead of literally anything else. Could stay home and just tase myself in the balls, but it's just even more enjoyable to go to F&M and play against this bullshit. What is WOTC thinking? And if you think this is a one-off or a staffing thing or a COVID thing or like, okay, let me just remind you just one little tiny thing. Waking the Troll, Scoot Swarm, Westgate Region, Terrorgrid, Prosperous Innkeeper, Elvish Warmaster, Spirit of the Elderguard, Teleportation Circle, Zeristan, Vorinclex, Skeletal Swarming, Delina, Avalanche Caller, Hobgoblin Bandit, Lord Angel of Destiny, Righteous Valkyrie, Hall of the Storm Giant, Xanathar, Faithbound Judge, Lier, still, Hallowed Haunting, still, Brutal Cathar, still, Toski, Memory Deluge, Hullbreaker Horror, still, Shakedown Heavy, Necroduality, Helena Elena, still, Devilish Valet, Lotus Cobra, Scoot Swarm, again, Zenith Flare, Torbrand, or Fiery, either one, Rune Crab, Embercleave, Winota, Auspicious Star, Extreme Trawler, Luris, Luminarch Aspirant, Vito, Zareth, Doom Foretold, Peer into the Abyss, Brash Taunter, and Ugin, Relic Ropper, Fae of Wishes, Outlaw's Merriment, Yorion, Victor's Envoy, and Drowned in the Loch. So just that little tiny little bit of evidence might suggest that they might have zero interest in fixing the annoyingness of the game. I don't care because I'm a fucking adult. If I won or lost the game, as long as I feel like I had a chance and feel like it was partially my fault if I lost, or I just got outplayed or outlucked, and that's fine because at least my deck was good enough to stand a chance. At least the ups and downs and back and forth were dramatic and I got to think and it was fun and interesting and cognitively stimulating. Not watching my opponent take unlimited fucking turns with Nexus, okay? No, I don't want to do that, WOTC. I don't know why that's so confusing to you that people don't want to fucking do that. If I were to just watch someone else play Magic and not participate in it, one, I'm not a customer, and two, I would just be one of those brain dead morons on Twitch. I don't know how it's that hard to get this shit through their thick skulls where they're like, oh, this will be like the big villain. This will be the card that everybody wants to take down and they'll just feel that big rush when they blow it up. No. This isn't an anime and I'm not Goku. I want a nice, fair, gentlemanly, even match where I can maybe outplay my opponent. I'll win sometimes, I'll lose sometimes. But at the end of the day, I just want to play some fucking Magic without this bullshit getting in there and ruining it. Discard, Mildax, Hyper Control, Fringe win cons. Sincerely, me and everyone in the community, or by the community, I mean the X-community. The one that doesn't exist anymore because it's been so many years of this bullshit, not to mention the raising of the prices and the other things you've done to completely abuse the community, that they left. They're already playing another game. You have to act responsibly in the meantime if you want to not lose all your money in the 3 to 5 year distant future. And now it's 3 to 5 years in the future and they're like, oh shit, where did everyone go? They actually can't figure it out because they're that fucking stupid. And I hate to end on the worst part, the absolute dead-ass worst part, is that they've came out and admitted that, well, the way people play Magic is changing. Yeah, I wonder how that could have happened. So what we need to do is we have to adapt to the more eternal heavy. So what they're saying is, we are admitting and we are aware that everybody left every format for just casual whatever the hell and Commander. That is all people play anymore. So we are actively admitting that we are printing Standard for multiple formats, even though we said back in the Eldrazi times, and it turned out they were lying, but they were partially true, that they designed for Standard and screw everything else. Side little fringe stuff, whatever, but their main core product is Standard. That's where the money comes from. And now that they ruined it, they're like, well, okay, we might as well print some overpowered crap, because if we don't, the Commander players aren't going to buy Standard products. Well, you put a bunch of confusing Acorn, non-Acorn, silver crap into Commander, so now you ruin that too. So why don't you circle back around to fixing Standard, getting rid of all the toxic, annoying cards, getting rid of the overpowered crap, lowering the entire power level, and then maybe you'll see a big flood of millions of people come back and play. Oh, sorry, I misspoke there. Did I say maybe? I meant to say definitely. Cut the secret lair crap, cut the $1,000 gold-bordered bullshit, and get back to fun, enjoyable, approachable, understandable Standard that you can have more new people coming in than people getting pissed off and leaving. Without that, it doesn't matter what else you do. You have to attract new people, and if I showed somebody the state of Standard right now and tried to teach them the game, they would be like, what the hell is this? This is the worst design crap I've ever seen. How the hell have they gone on for 30 years? And I have that same question. And WOTC is about to go down in flames with us never getting that answer, except for, well, everything I said in the entire video. So there's your answer. So hey, thanks for watching, everybody. If you got to this point of the video, you obviously share some opinions with me or really like being educated with, facts, reason, logic, history, and just going in depth on everything. That's what we do on this channel. Also, I shitpost Mark Rosewater YTP mixes. So there's that. There's something for everyone, and I run 3 other channels. So hey, stick around, hit subscribe, and I'll see you guys next video. And don't forget to check out Into the AM, link in the description. Support the channel, get yourself some cool new threads for the most impossibly low price ever. I'm out of here.